My goodness. We have music. Okay. All right. Well, shalom aleichem. Shalom, friends. And I'm glad you could all be here tuning in. I'm going to turn down my volume so we don't have that crazy echo going on. Okay. Well, welcome to our midweek Midrash. Tonight we're going to be studying Toldot. That's the parsha that we will be studying. And let's see. Still hearing some echoes. Turn that off. Okay, hopefully you can still hear me. All right. And the reading is going to be from Bereshit, Genesis 25, 19 to 29. And before we get started, I want to put in the little commercial here for my book, Shabbat, a practical guide to celebrating the Biblical Sabbath at home. And this is available in the TLC Holy Land gift shop here at Neve Shalom. And also you can order it through Amazon. You just take a picture with your smartphone of that QR code and it'll take you to the page. And you can get a signed copy if you want a signed copy by coming here and picking it up right in person from our bookstore. Okay. All right. With that. And let's begin with prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Lord, we thank you for your word, and we depend on your word daily, Lord. Father, to give us encouragement and to solve problems that we run into, Lord, but most of all, to get to know you even better with a deeper understanding of who you are and what your will is. And so, Lord, we invite you to be here as we study your word, that you would be pleased by our gathering together as your children and studying your word. We bless you and B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with, let's see. Okay. So again, the reading starts at Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 25, and we're starting at verse 19. Let's see. There we go. Okay, good. All right. And this is the genealogy of Yitzhak, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Yitzhak, and Yitzhak was 40 years old when he took Rivkah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padan Aram, the sister of Lavan the Aramean. And I'm still hearing some. Okay, there, that's what's going on. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to stop. I was hearing myself on YouTube. Okay, and Yitzhak prayed to Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh answered her prayer, or his prayer, and Rivkah, his wife, conceived. And within her the children struggled together, and she said, "If all is right, why am I this way?" So she went to ask Yahweh. And Yahweh said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples shall be separated from your body. And one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. And when the days are filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb." Okay, so we know she finally conceived with the blessing of Yahweh. And but at the time she didn't consider it too much of a blessing because of what was going on with the twins that she was carrying in her womb. Okay, beginning at 25, and let's see, take it to the end of 28.
The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Okay, so now we've got the parents taking sides, picking who their favorite one is. And I know as parents, we tell our kids, well, I love you all the same. But even though you can love them very deeply, all of them, you don't quite love them the same because they have different personalities, and so that means your relationship is a little different. Okay, next reader, go to the end of the chapter.
One day when Yaakov had cooked some stew, Esau came in from the open country exhausted and said to Yaakov, "Please let me gulp down some of that red stuff. That red stuff, I'm exhausted." This is why he was called Edom, which kind of means red. Yaakov answered, "First sell me your rights as the firstborn." "Look, I'm about to die," said Esau. "What use to me are my rights as the firstborn?" Yaakov said. "First, swear to me." So he swore to him, thus selling his birthright to Yaakov. Then Yaakov gave him bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, got up, and went on his way. Thus Esau showed how little he valued his birthright.
Okay, so here's Esau. He just came in from being out in the field, no doubt hunting and expending a lot of energy, and he comes in and he is famished. And it's funny, you would think that he would know the name of the dish, but he must be so hungry that he doesn't care to even think of what it's named. Just give me that red stuff. So it's also interesting that he was born red, and now he wants red stuff. And so that's why they call him Edom, because he was going to eat him up. No. No, because Edom comes from Adom, which means red or blood. So, and we know blood is red. Okay, so, and then he is so hungry that he must have lost his mind because he gave up his birthright for a bowl of something he didn't even know the name of, just because he was hungry. Back in those days, and also today, usually the firstborn gets, some privileges. I know I'm the firstborn in my family. You're the firstborn in your family. Okay, this was going to be ladies' night, but now it's the firstborn night. So, and this is interesting because not only is this kind of a firstborn night with everybody here being firstborn, but we've also begun the new month. So this is a Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh means the head of the month. And there you see the sliver of the moon, and that's how we tell that the new month has begun. And this month is a new month, the month of Kislev. And the theme for Kislev is seeking the light, making contact with the light. And we know who the light is Messiah. So, and also we know that we're heading toward the darker months. We just turn back our clocks a whole hour, and so it's getting darker earlier. And so we still look for the light. We as human beings always look for the light. Okay. All right. Getting back to the reading. Let's go to the next chapter, chapter 26. And there was a scarcity of food in the land, besides the first scarcity of food, which was in the days of Abraham. And Yitzhak went to Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines in Gerar. Anybody know where Gerar is? Gerar. Okay, Gerar. Gerar is it means circle or region, and it looks like it's a town in the Philistine plains south of Gaza. So that's where both Abraham and Isaac sojourned for a time, and where they came into contact with Abimelech. Okay, so there it is. You found it. Okay, I think next time I'm going to add maps to the visuals here. Okay, so they're south of Gaza right now in this story. Okay, and verse 2, and Yahweh appeared to him and said, do not go down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt, which is just south of Gaza. Do not go down to Mitzrayim, live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and bless you, for I give all these lands to you and your seed, and I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. So here he's giving them land. And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, and my Torot, my instructions. And Torot is plural of Torah, which means instruction. Okay, so again, he reiterates the promise that he made to Abraham, that his descendants will be as numerous as the stars of the heavens, and that all nations will be blessed through his seed. Okay, next reader, start at 6, and let's go to the end of 12.
So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, she is my sister. That sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar, yes.
Because he was afraid to say, she is my wife. He thought, the men of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she is beautiful. When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife, Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, she is really your wife. Why did you say she is your sister? Isaac answered him, because I thought I might lose my life on account of her. Then Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. So Abimelech gave orders to all the people, anyone who molests this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Isaac planted crops in that land, and the same year reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him.
Okay, so yeah, that does sound familiar, because dear old dad said the same thing. So I guess Israelite women are good looking. So okay, all right, and this also kind of brings to our attention that Abimelech must have been an honorable man, because he knew it would have been wrong to take Yitzhak's wife, to sleep with another man's wife. So even though the 10 Commandments had not been given yet, they knew that this was against Yahweh's commandments. So Okay. And let's see, next reader. Yes.
Well, you made a point there, but the written law
Mhm.
didn't exist yet, but
Right.
the oral law may have began with Abraham.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it says Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees,
Mhm.
and my laws.
Mhm.
So there was some form of law.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Yah has a way of putting his Torah in our hearts.
Hmm.
And so we know right from wrongs. The world calls it a conscience, but we know if we do something wrong, we know it. Um, Now you spoke about the oral law. The oral law is what's considered the law that's kept by the Pharisees and by the modern Pharisees, which are the Orthodox now. So even though it was a type of oral law, it isn't the official big O oral law.
My father had an oral law too.
No, yeah,
I,
right.
I clearly understood it.
Yes, yeah. So it was a law that was understood and
Well,
probably
yeah, that's
spoken
it.
of.
Because Abraham had a relationship with God,
Right.
so
Hmm.
you would know what your father would require from
Hmm.
you. So even if he only gave it to Abraham and nobody else,
Hmm.
there was some kind of commands that God gave to him, some kind of laws for
Hmm.
him.
Yeah. Well, even with Noah, when him and his family left the ark, even though the laws concerning kashrut, clean and unclean meats, was not written down, wasn't given officially, they knew what was clean and what was not clean. So um, I'm sure that the Bible doesn't contain everything that everybody
Right.
said. There was conversation not only amongst the people, but also between the Creator and the people. So yeah, so they must have known in some way. Okay, so let's see.
From 13.
Yeah, from 13 down to go to the end of 18.
The man became rich and prospered more and more until he had become very wealthy indeed. He had flocks, cattle, and a large household, and the Philistine envied him. Now the Philistine had stopped up and filled with dirt all the wells his father's servants had dug during the lifetime of Abraham,
Wow.
his father. Of Abimelech said to Yitzhak, "You must go away from us, because you have become much more powerful than we are." So Yitzhak left, set up camp in Vadi Gerar, and lived there. Down to where?
End of 18.
Yitzhak reopened the wells which had been dug during the lifetime of Abraham his father, the ones the Philistine had stopped up after Abraham died, and called them by their names his father had used for them.
Okay. So, and then later on, we're going to see these wells being referred to in other stories that are coming up. Okay. So this reminds me, here's these people, the Plishtim, the Philistines, who were getting jealous of what Yitzhak and his group were doing, how they were prospering, how they were being blessed um, by the Lord, and so they weren't going to have it. So you have to have water, right? So if they fill the wells full of water, there's no water for them, decent water for them to drink, so they have to move on. So this was their way of trying to push them out.
It's interesting too how they always get jealous of the way that God blesses them.
Yeah.
So instead of turning to God and getting blessed too,
Hmm.
they attack them somehow.
Yeah, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Mhm.
You know, the thing that's going on right now, concerning Gaza. There we are in Gaza again. And a lot of the attacks, are happening. The hatred is happening because of jealousy. Um, in 2005, I believe it was, one of the kibbutz, or one of the areas, called, it was just in my mind, Gush Katif. Gush Katif was very lush with vegetation. They had orchards and fields of, fruits and vegetables. They were thriving very well. And, the Palestinian authority there pushed and pushed, and, they wanted that land. Well, of course, we know it's not about the land. But anyway, Israel wound up pulling up stakes and leaving. And shortly after that, everything that was growing and thriving just turned to,
They destroyed it.
yeah, they destroyed it.
Sounds like what's happening to our country.
Yeah.
We got these people that are envious of what we have here,
Hmm.
and they come here, and rather than contributing to it and helping keep it better or make
Right.
it better, they're just destroying it.
Right. Because they are outside the tribe. They're not wanting to become part of the tribe.
They want the goodies without the work.
Right. Right. Exactly. And so that's happening. Even now they complain, oh, we live in an open air prison. Well, it's a prison of their making. They had everything that they needed. They had nice houses. They had, areas to grow crops, to keep animals,
Well, when the
and
Israelis left, they left their houses and their
yeah,
crops and their gardens, and they had everything handed to them.
yeah, they did.
And instead of taking care of it, they destroyed it.
Yeah. And from what I heard, like, several weeks later, they called up the leaders that used to be there and said, "Can you come back and fix these orchards again? Can you, you know?" And they probably said, "You're crazy. If you don't take care of your toys,
Yeah.
you won't have them." So yeah, so this is most probably what was happening here. Um, Yitzhak was blessed. Him and Rivka were blessed. They had, flocks. They had money. They had, you know, lots of stuff. And evidently, the Philistines weren't going to have it. They wanted their part of it too. So they filled the wells. They stopped the wells with dirt. Um, and these were wells that were dug up by Abraham. And so finally, Abimelech says to Yitzhak, "Go away, just get out of here, because you're greater than we are now. You're more powerful." And this same thing happened in Egypt. They, they got along, once Joseph was there and blessed them, during times of famine. But once that was done, they forgot all about the good that the Hebrews did, and turned against them because they were out of jealousy, or they saw that their numbers were growing. Um, so, okay, so, all right, 19. But when Yitzhak's servants dug in the wadi and found a well of running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Yitzhak's herdsmen, saying, water is ours." And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. So there was this fighting. The herdsmen wanted the well. The well was pretty much destroyed, and then Yitzhak's servants dug it up again, and they found running water there. And so Gerar was having a problem with that. And they dug another well. So they left that place, they left the well and didn't want to cause any trouble. So they went away and they dug another well. And then they strove over that one too. And so he called it that well Sitnah. And then he moves from there and digs yet another well. And they did not strive over it, finally. And he called its name Rehoboth and said, "For now Yahweh has made room for us, and we shall bear fruit in the land." And from there he went up to Beersheba. Okay, so he tried he tried to make sure that there was water for his people, and but the Philistines just kept pushing him and pushing him and pushing him, and this sounds very familiar today. Okay, so next reader start at 24 and go to the end of 29.
That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. Meanwhile, Abimelech had come to him from Gerar with Ahuzeth, his personal advisor, and Philcol, the commander of his forces. Isaac asked them, "Why have you come to me since you were hostile to me and sent me away?" They answered, "We saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you that you will do us no harm, just as we did not molest you, but always treated you well and sent you away in peace. And now you are blessed by the Lord."
Wow. This sounds history repeating itself. Okay, Craig, if you would continue on to the end of the chapter.
Yitzhak prepared a banquet for them, and they ate and drank. The next morning they got up early and swore to each other. Then Yitzhak sent them on their way, and they left him peacefully. That very day, Yitzhak's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. "We have found water." So he called it Shiva. And for this reason, the name of the city is Beersheba, well of seven, well of an oath, to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudit, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basmat, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, but they became a cause for embitterment of spirit to Yitzhak and Rivkah.
Okay, so there's trouble in paradise. We have trouble between the relatives.
The in-laws are at it.
Yeah, the in-laws are definitely at it. Yeah, so okay, so this because of the name of the well, they named the city Beersheba, and here Esav was 40 years old. He took two wives, Yehudit or Judith. It's in some translations, and she's a daughter of a Hittite, and then Basmat, the daughter of another Hittite of Elon. Okay, all right. Let's go to the next chapter, chapter 27. Okay, anything anybody wants to add yet? No? Okay. And it came to be when Yitzhak was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he answered him, Here I am. And he said, See now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish, such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does bless you before I die. And Rivkah heard when Yitzhak spoke to Esau, his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt wild game and to bring it. Okay, so here he is. He's getting ready to go and be the obedient son and prepare some meat for his father. Okay, next reader. From 6 to the end of 12.
Rebekah said to her son Jacob, Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, Bring me some game and prepare me some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies. Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a man with smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing.
Okay, my version here, it says, I shall be like a deceiver. Well, his name is Jacob. So he's, some translate that to be deceiver or usurper. So he's,
But it was his mother that convinced him to do it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so here we have, I guess, the mothers always look out for their favorite sons. And so it reminds me a little bit of Sarah. You know, of course, she favored the child that she gave birth to, even though she was supposed to have treated Ishmael fairly, but
Yeah, because he did resist. He did say he didn't want to trick his father, but he eventually gave in to his mother. So
yeah,
she had a lot of power over him.
Yep, Jewish moms.
I think Yitzhak had quite an appetite. It took 2 lambs, was it?
2 goats.
2 goats.
Yitzhak? Well, he was making it for his
Esau.
Yeah, he was making it for his oh yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, Esau was making it yeah, for Yitzhak.
Well, he brought
Yeah.
the animals.
Yeah.
I guess the mom was making the dish.
Yeah, and it says young goats, so they were probably, they chose the young goats because they were tender. Well, they're going to be smaller too. And as long as you're going to cook for one, you might as well cook for the whole family.
Yeah, probably they were feeding his servants and his personal servants and stuff too. So.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 young goats, and we see 2 young goats later on in Scripture. So I think it's significant that there's 2 young goats, and there's 2 young men who are in contention there.
Butting heads.
Yeah, butting heads like 2 young goats. Exactly. Okay. All right. Okay. Now he does go to his mother and and say, he says, but my brother's a hairy guy and I'm smooth skinned. It's almost like he's wanting her suggestions and guidance for how do I get over this one. So they're kind of conspiring, you know. Um, okay, so reading on 13 to let's go 13 to the end of 19. That would be you.
But his mother said, "Let your curse be on me. Just listen to me and go get me the kids."
The
So he
kids.
went, got them, and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared them in a tasty way his father loved. Next, Rivka took Esau, her older son's best clothes, which she had with her in the house, and put them on Yaakov, her younger son. And she put the skins of the goats on his hands and on the smooth parts of his neck. Then she gave the tasty food and the bread she had prepared to her son Yaakov. He went to his father and said, "My father," he replied, "here I am." "Who are you, my son?" Yaakov said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I've done what you have asked me to do. Get up now, sit down, eat the game, and then give me your blessing."
Okay, so he's got this blessing that he's anticipating, and evidently Esau is out hunting at this time, so this is kind of going fast. All right. But Yitzhak said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" Kind of suspicious. And he said, "Because Yahweh, your Elohim, brought it to me." Wow. How many people blame Yah for for
Yeah.
things? I mean, yeah, that's a blessing that you have success, in finding, these kids,
Mhm.
but now he's bringing the creator into it. Um, okay, so then Yitzhak said to Yaakov, "Please come near so that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Esau or not." And Yaakov went near to Yitzhak, his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is the voice of Yaakov, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. And he blessed him. And he said, "Are you truly my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." Wow. Okay. So he's getting the blessing. Okay, next reader from 25 to the end the end of 30.
Then he said, "My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's richness an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and people bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting.
Bum, bum, bum. The jig is up. Okay, so he received this blessing, which is, appropriate blessing for a firstborn, because the firstborn son would be, once the father had passed on, it was up to the firstborn son to provide for the family, provide for his mother and his siblings as well. And so he says, may Yahweh give you the dew of the heavens. So rain, for the crops and for watering the animals, and fatness of the earth, which would be whatever crops would come up, plenty of grain and wine. And then he goes on to say, let people serve you and nations bow down to you, so that he would be a powerful person. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Okay, so he's putting him in charge of the family. And then he ends this with, cursed be those cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you. And this is the same blessing that Yahweh gave to Avraham. And then it says, and it came to be, as soon as Yitzhak had finished blessing Yaakov, and Yaakov had hardly left the presence of Yitzhak, his father, then his brother Esau comes in. He came in from hunting. Okay. All right. 31 to, let's go, let's see, the end of 36.
He too had prepared a tasty meal and brought it to his father. And now he said to his father, let my father get up and eat from his son's game, so that you may give me your blessing. Yitzhak, his father, said to him, who are you? And he answered, I am your son, your firstborn Esau. Yitzhak began trembling uncontrollably and said, then who was it that took game and brought it to me? I ate it all just before you came, and I gave my blessing to him. That's the truth, and the blessing must stand. When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into loud, bitter sobbing. Father, bless me too, he begged. He replied, your brother came deceitfully and took away your blessing.
So now that blessing is worth something to him. Before, he just, his hunger before, overtook his sensibility. And now it's kind of a wake-up call. He lost his blessing. He lost his birthright. He doesn't have the blessing of a firstborn son any longer. And what's even worse, now he's got to serve his younger brother. So of course he's weeping and wailing. And I don't know if he's more mad at himself or his brother for deceiving his father. Okay. And let's see. And Esau said, was his name then called Yaakov? For he has caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took the birthright, and see, now he has taken my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Then Yitzhak answered and said to Esau, see, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Yitzhak his father answered and said to him, see, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of the heavens above. and by your sword you are to live and serve your brother. And it shall be when you grow restless that you shall break his yoke from your neck. Okay, so there's a lot right here. So he's bemoaning the fact that he's lost his blessing, and you've heard of the saying, was it once fooled, twice shy? It was two times that Yitzhak grabbed the heel, grabbed the opportunity, and and took over used his brother to first come out into the world, and then now he used his brother again to get the father's blessing. Okay, anybody have anything for that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so although Esau didn't get the blessing of the firstborn, he did, um, he did get the blessing from his father, as far as, um, dwelling. You know, it says your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth and of the dew of the heavens above. So basically, he's saying you're on your own. You're getting your blessings from what you're able to do with the earth and how you know the uh, the dew from heaven's a blessing from Yah. Um, and then he goes on and says, "By your sword you are to live and serve your brother." So he's also to protect his brother and serve him. And then he says, "It shall be when you grow restless that you shall break his yoke from your neck." So he's basically told him, if you don't like these conditions, then leave. Okay. So, oops, let's see. There we go. All right, next reader, 41 to the end.
Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob."
Mm.
When Rebekah was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Your brother Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you.
Oh.
Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from Hittite women like these, my life will be not worth living."
Okay, so she evidently does not like the wives of Esav. Um, she seems to feel that he made a poor choice in marrying two Hittite women. And but she doesn't want the same thing for her favorite son, Yaakov. So um, she's made it known that if he marries a Hittite woman, that she gives up. She's um, she's kind of given up on life here. Um, and of course, she tells her son, "Go run to um, your uncle Lavan, and he'll protect you. You could stay with him until his um, his brother cools off." So he's pretty angry. I mean, he's even wanting to kill his brother. So that seems like such a harsh thing nowadays. I mean, we get angry with our brothers or sisters, and you say, "Oh, I could just kill them," but you really don't mean it. But here, that's an anger that is pretty destructive. Okay, anything else for that?
No.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the next and last chapter. Okay. Okay. So beginning at verse 1 and go to the end of 5.
So Yitzhak called Yaakov, and after blessing him, charged him, "You are not to choose a wife from the Hittite women. Go now to the home of Betuel,
Betuel. Yeah.
Betuel, your mother's father, and choose a wife there from the daughters of Lavan, your mother's brother. May El Shaddai bless you, make you fruitful, and increase your descendants until they become whole assembly of people. And may he give you the blessing which he gave Abraham, you and your descendants with you, so that you will possess the land you will travel through, the land God gave to Abraham." So Yitzhak sent Yaakov away, and he went to Padan Aram to Laban, son of Betuel, the Arami, the brother of Rivkah, Yaakov's and Esau's mother.
Okay. All right. So Yitzhak, you know, I'm sure he was upset with the way Yaakov got the blessing, but he still he called him and he blessed him, and he said, um, he warned him, "Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan or the Hittites. They're related." And he sends him to Padan Aram, to the house of Betuel, um, the his mother's father, and says, "Take a wife from them." So again, don't go to the foreigners and find a girl. Go to your own relatives. And then he uses a new name here for the Almighty. He says, "And El Shaddai bless you." And El Shaddai means um, the all sufficient God. Shaddai means all sufficient one. So he's saying, may our God, the all sufficient one, bless you. And so he says, "Make you bear fruit and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of people." So he says, "May you be blessed with many children." And he says, "And give you the blessing of Abraham." What is the blessing of Abraham? It's many, many descendants. In other words, may he be fruitful in his body, but also in the land. It says, "So that you inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham." So it's a big blessing. Um, and then he sent him away. Okay, so, and Esau saw that Yitzhak had blessed Yaakov and sent him away to Padam Aram to take himself a wife from there. And that as he blessed him, he gave him a command, saying, "Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan." Okay, we know that the daughters of Canaan were idolaters. They were pagans, so he didn't want that influence in his house. And it goes on, and that Yaakov had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padam Aram. So Esau saw that the daughters of the Canaan did not please his father Yitzhak. And Esau went to Ishmael and took Mahalat, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife, besides the wives that he had. So he added 2 more wives, and he went to Ishmael. So these again were um, they were descendants of the slave woman. And let's see. Okay, so this seems like this might have been kind of a spiteful thing because he had already married two Hittite women, and now he's marrying two women who are not free women. They're the daughters of Ishmael, who was a son of Abraham and Hagar, the Egyptian servant. So I guess he's digging himself a deeper hole here. So, okay, so we come to the end of the parasha, and it's like the plot thickens, but we'll have to pick up the rest of it next time. And so I'm glad that all of you are able to join us for this reading of this parasha. Um, any last words on what we just read?
Not from I.
Not from you.
I wouldn't touch that.
With a 10-foot vaccinated crowbar. Okay. All right, wonderful. Okay, well, I hope everybody enjoyed this reading and discussion. And I'm hoping that you will continue with us next week. Join us next week when we pick up where the story ends. It's sort of a cliffhanger here, and we'll pick that up next week, Wednesday evening at 6:30. And I'm hoping everybody will join us for our Sabbath service this Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. And that's right here. We'll also be online. And again, I'll put this advertisement for the book. If you missed out scanning the QR code, it's right there. So, okay. So I'm glad everybody made it, and may you all be safe and blessed. And until next time, shalom, shalom.